Hi, everyone, and thanks for tuning into this Marketplace Summit session where we're going to talk about how to activate the Microsoft partner ecosystem to unlock new markets. I'm Jason Rook from the Marketplace ISV Journey team.
And I'm Greg Goldkamp from the Worldwide ISV Sales team, working with our ISV teams around the world to help our ISVs grow and be successful. We truly appreciate all of our partners and internal team members for joining us in this session. We're going to talk through the opportunities for ISVs to accelerate their growth with and through an ecosystem of partners. Over the next 25 minutes, Jason will guide us through the market opportunity, how to think through the cloud solution provider ecosystem, and walk through the details of margin sharing through our private offers framework. I'll then lead us through a Q&A with Carolyn Groh from Law Toolbox, where we'll learn firsthand about her experiences leading in this space. Then we'll close out with actionable steps and resources for you to embrace this new way of selling. Jason, over to you.
Thanks, Greg. So let's start this conversation with a little bit of a grounding on just the market opportunity that we see. So we know that in the year 2023, there will be $6.8 trillion of opportunity from customers that are undergoing digital transformation. And within that opportunity, we know that a significant portion of that will be customers in the small and medium business space that are focused on transforming their businesses, and they're going to turn to software providers, ISVs, and solution providers, what we will call today in today's session cloud solution providers, to help them on that transformation journey. And so what is a cloud solution provider? Well, let's start with a little bit of a grounding on just what we mean here at Microsoft by cloud solution provider. And I think it's incredibly important to understand this context of that cloud solution provider is really a licensing vehicle or a purchasing mechanism, if you will, for customers in that small and medium business space. And sometimes we'll use Microsoft segmentation, we'll say SMB or SMC, but it's really how those customers in SMB and SMC procure Microsoft cloud services through solution providers. And any solution provider that's authorized to sell CSP licensing, we call a CSP. So behind that CSP label, though, what you see is partners from all different walks of life or business models, if you will. You see the distributors, you see hosters, you see ISVs, perhaps like yourself, who bundle Microsoft Cloud services in with their products. You see licensing solution providers, or LARs. You see managed solution providers, commonly referred to as MSPs. You see systems integrators of all types, regional, national, global systems integrators. And of course, you see value-added resellers as well. What's interesting about all of those different types of partners is they're all very, very good at helping customers to purchase, deploy, support, and operate Microsoft Cloud services like Microsoft 365, Microsoft Azure, Microsoft Dynamics, and even Microsoft Power Platform. Now, we actually take those CSP partners and we categorize them one more time into three different types of partners. We have what we call the direct CSPs. Those are those partners that purchase licensing from Microsoft under that CSP licensing vehicle, and they resell direct to customers. Then we have what we call the indirect provider CSP. The indirect provider CSP purchases licensing from Microsoft, sells that to an indirect reseller, and then that indirect reseller owns that last mile with the customer. And then finally, we have the indirect reseller CSP, who then buys their software from the indirect provider CSP, and they own that customer relationship. So why do we take the time to kind of walk through all these different partner types? Well, it's because as you think about how you're going to unlock this opportunity of 90,000 of these CSPs, it's important for you to understand their core business models and where they fit in the Microsoft ecosystem. Your product might be designed for certain segments, for certain markets, for certain horizontals, for certain verticals, and it's important for you to understand these different partners and how they operate within the ecosystem. What's interesting about all of these CSPs, no matter how we label them or how their business model lays out, they care about a certain set of similar things. I like to call these the foundations for cloud solution provider relationships. So if you're an ISV and you're over on the left-hand side of this screen and you're thinking, how do I build a relationship with the CSP over on the right-hand side? What you should understand is when that CSP looks back at you, these are the things they think about, and almost in this order. The first thing a CSP thinks about is, how does that ISV help me to grow top-line revenue? How do they help me to expand my business? Then once they think about revenue, the very next thing they think about is that revenue profitable for me? Does that ISV have a solution that will help me grow my margin? And when I'm growing revenue and margin, how's that coming in the door? Is it reoccurring revenue? Is it monthly reoccurring? Is it annual reoccurring? And so after they kind of think about those core financial aspects of what that relationship with you will deliver, the very next question they will ask you is, how do I get leads? Every CSP that you talk to wants leads from you as an ISV. They want those leads to come to them, and they want them in a fast sales cycle with a low cost of sale. And when they actually transact a deal with you, when it comes time for renewal, they want an easy renewal process. When they're in the middle of a deal cycle with you, they want strong technical and sales deal support. Because they also want to sell innovative products. When they look at ISVs, they say, hey, does this product, is it attractive to my customers? Does it fill a need that my customers might have? Does it align with the other products in my portfolio? Does it snap into my back office tools, my professional service automation tools, my PSA tool, my CRM tool, my ERP tool? How does this solution work with the rest of my business? And does this ISV help me with my marketing? Do they help me to fill the funnel? Do they help me to execute on the funnel? That's very important to those ISVs. And once they sell a product, what they really need is strong product support. So when a CSP looks at you, they want to know, do you have support? Do you support the product once they sell it? Does that relationship between the CSP and the ISV over time, is it a simple relationship, and is it low friction? So these are the things, as you're an ISV, you think about, how do you tap into this ecosystem of Microsoft partners? These are the things that are going to align, or you're going to fold these in and have them align with your strategy. So I mentioned margin as a very important part of that foundational relationship with an ISV. So in February of 2022, we released new functionality into Marketplace that allows an ISV to create a private offer that has margin included, and they can share that with a CSP. So in this model, we now have the ability for ISPs to provide that margin to CSPs that CSPs so deeply want when they build that ISV-CSP relationship. And that margin is entirely flexible. You can set the amount of margin that you want to provide to a CSP. You can set the time frame. You can have an offer that applies to all CSPs that are authorized. You can have a margin offering that applies to just one CSP that you're working with. Many ISVs want to know, how does this really work in reality? And so I think this workflow helps to depict that. And I have two examples, one for direct and one for indirect. Indirect model, what happens is perhaps you as an ISV, you've published a public transactable offer at MSRP of, let's say, $100 per unit. You have a CSP that you are working with. You could extend a private offer to that CSP, let's say with 40% margin. So that CSP is really purchasing for $60. That CSP in the direct model, who owns the end customer relationship, can turn to the customer and sell your product for the $100 retail price. They could pass through some discount. They could also mark it up and embed it in a managed services contract. In the indirect model, it works almost the same way. The ISV or you might have that offering at $100 per unit. You could turn to the indirect provider CSP, extended margin of 40%. The indirect provider CSP would then turn to the indirect reseller CSP, and perhaps they'll keep a little bit of that margin, but they'll extend the offer to the indirect provider reseller, or the indirect reseller, I'm sorry. The indirect reseller then owns that last mile piece with the customer. They set the pricing, they do the collections, they pay the indirect provider CSP. The indirect provider CSP then pays Microsoft. Microsoft retains the 3% agency fee and then pays you as the ISV. And this margin sharing private offer functionality has helped so many ISVs and CSPs really get those relationships off the ground. Greg, you work with a lot of ISVs. What are you hearing?
Yeah, thanks, Jason. It's really helpful to walk through these workflows and give ISVs this roadmap to think through their strategy to engage CSPs for growth. The market has different pressures today. Customers are looking for guidance on solutions to help them run more efficiently, and they want to implement them faster than ever. They've established trusted business relationships with fantastic cloud solution providers, like some of the names you see here. When we put these complementary ISVs and CSP partners side by side, these connections really light up. Now, I'm excited to jump from these logos to a deeper conversation with one of our ISVs who has been and continues to be a trailblazer with this motion, Carolyn Grove from Law Toolbox. Carolyn, I'm so excited to talk with you about your experiences today.
I'm really excited to be here.
Well, I have too many questions and too little time, so let's get started. Can you tell us a little bit about Law Toolbox?
Absolutely. So Law Toolbox was founded as one of the first legal SaaS in the market. At the time, we called it a first online application. I guess today we call it native cloud solution. And we had one goal in mind, and that was to reduce the risk of missed deadlines. And we did this by doing two things. First, we created online legal calculators that automatically generate deadlines based on a library of regulatory and administrative rules of procedure. And the second part was to get those deadlines, build a tool to get those deadlines into the place that 90% of attorneys rely on to be reminded of their deadlines, the Outlook calendar. So our first scale play in the market was when we launched in 2006 APIs that many legal applications integrated into to bring our calendaring into their products. But our big move in the market, our big scaling moment happened, can't believe it's been almost 10 years, in 2013 when we launched an add-in for Outlook as one of the first 10 add-ins in the Outlook inbox. It was called an email app at the time. And we did this because we heard loudly and clearly from our customers, corporate legal departments and law firms, that they did not want to ask their lawyers to learn a new tool. They asked us to solve the calendaring and collaboration solution in the place that those attorneys, those legal professionals spend their day, which at the time was Outlook. And today, it's not just Outlook, it's Microsoft Teams, SharePoint, the whole Microsoft 365 platform. So today we are a matter management platform that is built on top of the Microsoft 365 and Microsoft Teams platform that's used inside of each of our customers' Microsoft 365 tenants.
I love that. And we see a lot of companies today that are facing this inefficiency of jumping from application to application. So it's great to hear that story. Now, what compelled you to use the marketplace to sell in new ways?
Scale. We wanted to get to market quickly. We were looking to basically expand our sales team. Of course, our product that lives in the Microsoft 365 platform is a perfect fit for really taking advantage of our best friends in the market, being the Microsoft partners that are out there basically doing the same type of thing we are, helping customers transform and leverage their technology to get their work done.
I love it. I love that term, best friends in the market. So can you share more about some of the early results you've seen?
Absolutely. So we are experiencing a hockey stick moment where we are now not only launching, being part of this new market where you have customers that say, I need to transform, I need to move to the cloud, I need to do it now. But at the same time, we're taking advantage of some of these great new tools that Microsoft has made available to us with private offers to bring our solution to market through Microsoft partners, through systems integrator, or direct to our clients when they add us to their Microsoft invoice.
That's great. I love it. Hearing about best friends and hockey sticks. Now, you've been speaking with a lot of customers lately. What do they say about the benefits of this new approach?
They're thrilled with this idea that they can learn about a solution and not have to wait for 6 months to get a purchase order in place. They can find out about our product and in the morning, and in the afternoon, their IT person can toggle our software on, add the licenses, and do it all within the same familiar user experience where they manage their Office 365 licenses today.
God, that is so awesome. When you think about it, to take that procurement cycle out, to take the implementation cycle out, that's great to hear. Now, on the CSP side, we see that many of our CSPs focus a big part of their business on Windows and Office, with fantastic surrounding services and support. What feedback or insights do you have from the CSPs you've worked with?
Funny you should ask. Let me tell you this story. It actually just happened yesterday. Got a call from a Microsoft partner that had been in touch with an indirect provider, and they said, hey, we want to manage our licenses for this customer through this indirect provider. And the indirect provider said, wait, so you're telling me you're selling into the legal department? We spend our day in the finance department and the marketing department. This is going to round out our offering. We now have a whole new room in the home to go and expand our existing customer base.
That's great. This idea of opening up more doors to more rooms in the house is real, and it's something that your CSPs are experiencing firsthand. That's great.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, honestly. It's very exciting. We used to feel like we were asking a favor of a distributor or an indirect provider to take our product and start selling it. And, today when we are having conversations with them, we realize that we're actually opening doors for them. And we're feeling it and seeing it and believing it. So it's pretty exciting times.
I love it. I love that firsthand example. That's fantastic. Now, when you were first starting out, what did you do to find the right CSPs to work with?
Well, what we were doing originally and what we're doing today are a little different. So what we learned, our original approach was meet the indirect providers and market through them to meet all the CSP. And what we're doing today is, in addition to that, we're finding that our customers are bringing a lot of our CSP partners to us. And once we're listed within a private offer through an indirect provider, then at that point, we are now available and visible throughout the entire set of Microsoft partners that are transacting through that distributor.
That's great, Carolyn. What does it take to operationalize your approach?
Well, we had to rethink a number of things. First of all, the way we record revenue and offer pricing to clients. We publish offers in Partner Center. We manage our leads that we are co-selling with Microsoft sellers in Partner Center, where we register deals. So it's a learning curve, but it definitely pays off.
That's great to hear. And then we've seen a number of improvements in Partner Center to make this even easier. So that's great. Maybe for all of the Microsoft people that are watching, those that work with ISVs, those that work with CSPs, and those that support our customers, what guidance do you have for them?
Well, the opportunity to really help your ISV partners and your CSP partners come together and take advantage of this private offer program that allows margin to be shared, automate the buying and selling process. It's definitely a game-changing moment, and customers need those services now and quickly, and with solutions like Marketplace that make it easy. I think there's no time like the present.
Awesome. And what guidance do you have for other ISVs out there looking for new ways to scale their sales?
So what I would say to an ISV is lean forward into this new world of technology. When you have an opportunity to truly scale in a fairly effortless way, where you build it into Microsoft's APIs and Partner Center and unlock the door to 90,000 partners, it's a new world. It feels different, but I would say, it's now's the right time. And if you can get to market more quickly by increasing your access to customers in other regions through different partners, it's well worth the learning curve that you might go through.
Carolyn, that is so great. I heard 3 things in your summary. Number 1, for the ISVs out there, lean in to this new way of selling. Go and make best friends in the market. And this is your opportunity to go after this hockey stick of growth. Thank you so much for being here and being with all of us today, Carolyn.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, Jason, back over to you to close us out.
Thanks, Greg. I love that Law Toolbox story. What I specifically like is how Carolyn talks about the strategy that Law Toolbox had to engage with CSPs. And really, that comes down to what you have to do to build channel-ready offers. And when I think about channel-ready offers, I think about 3 things. I think about margin, I think about marketing, and then I think about some of the things that Carolyn might have mentioned around rolling up your sleeves and doing the work in Partner Center. So first of all, margin. Your margin needs to be defined, but yet flexible and attractive. So think about your margin strategy. And for many ISVs, it's not really a margin strategy, it's a pricing strategy. It's how much do you want to keep and how much do you want to give away to attract those CSPs that are going to go out and sell for you, and in some cases, even support for you. So be flexible with your margin strategy. You're going to need to bend sometimes to win deals or to win over CSPs that you want. You can define that length of margin, the amount of margin, and you can create multiple different offers. So you do have the power to be flexible. I would also highly recommend, if you have an existing partner program, that you have some parity between the margins that you offer in your existing program, however that is, gold, silver, platinum, level 1, 2, 3. Make sure that you have some parity across your current program and what you're building in marketplace. And always make sure that your margin is a win-win. Make sure it's good for you, but also remember what you're asking that CSP to do. You're asking that CSP to build a whole new business. They're gonna have to learn how to sell your product. They're gonna learn how to operate your product. They're gonna be a part of your support component. And they're also gonna build the back end, the back office pieces to really manage that relationship with you. So remember what you need to give them to make that relationship work. Next, I think about marketing materials when I think about how you build channel-ready offers for CSPs. And good news about marketing materials is hopefully you have a lot of this already. You just need to change the message, and you need to change it in 2 tones. 1, you need to attract CSPs. 2, once you have them, you need to help them sell your product. So when you think about how you attract CSPs, a great idea might be to have a 1-pager. And if you think back to those foundations of building a great CSP relationship, your 1-pager needs to speak to those. You need to tell the CSP how you're going to help them with top-line revenue, how you're going to help them with margin. Do you typically help CSPs obtain some recurring revenue? What does your product do? What niches does it fill? What's that relationship going to look like from an engineering and a support perspective? You really want to capture that CSP's attention, because remember, there are 12,000 ISVs that are building transactable apps in the commercial marketplace today. You want to get their attention. The second thing you want to do is help them with the technical deployment. Every CSP is going to want to kick the tires. The first question they might ask you is, how do I get a demo or a test account? You need to be prepared for that. Once they get a demo or a test account, the next thing they're going to want to know is, how do you support this product? So it's important that you have the content to attract those CSPs. Next, once you have them, how do you help them sell? Well, you probably need some type of a leave behind or a 1-pager in that regard as well. I bet you have one of those that you share today with your investors or your prospective customers. You also need a pitch deck. And I often recommend that when you think about a pitch deck for a CSP, you should envision that CSP sitting in a conference room with the customer without you. And you want that CSP to be able to carry that sales conversation and walk out of the conference room with a closed deal. So think about how you build that content for the CSP. And then finally, you should always be building success stories, but you should think about how do you build success stories that include the partner motion. So how did the partner help the customer? How did the partner deliver? What did the partner and the customer and you as the ISV do together? So it's important that you have that collateral, and you need to make it publicly available. I know so many partners gate a lot of this great content, but remember, there's a lot of CSPs, there's a lot of ISVs. You need to get this content in their hands as easily as possible, and you're gonna need it when you get to the Partner Center component. And Partner Center is where you're gonna go to create those private offers that I showed in the workflow earlier. So you're gonna go, or someone in your organization is gonna go into Partner Center. They're going to go to Marketplace Offers. They're going to select Resell through CSPs, and then you're going to be prompted for what type of an offer are you going to build? Are you going to build one for all eligible CSPs? Are you going to build one for one specific CSP? Let's say, for example, that you have a specific CSP that you're working with. You're going to go to the search bar and find that CSP. You'll select them, and then you'll start to build an offer for that particular CSP. And here's where the marketing collateral comes in. You're going to need to describe your product. You're going to need to have the public-facing URL of where that content resides. You're going to need contact info for your salespeople, for your engineering people, for your support folks. You're also going to need that rich sales collateral as well. Logos, pitch decks, one-pagers, all of that content. Once you've selected that CSP or selected the broad group of CSPs and you've created this offer with margin established, you will then publish your offer to the marketplace. So at this point in our conversation, we've covered a lot of ground. We've talked about what a CSP is. We've talked about the different types of partners that fall into that CSP umbrella. We've talked about the foundations of a great ISV and CSP relationship. We talked about margin sharing private offers. We also had a great interview from Greg and Carolyn at Law Toolbox, where she explained the Law Toolbox journey, and she gave ISVs some great tips for how they should think about embarking on this journey with CSPs. We then talked about margin strategy, or pricing strategy, if you will. We also talked about marketing collateral and how you market to CSPs, and then how you help CSPs market to customers. We also then talked about Partner Center. We rolled up our sleeves and took a look at how to create a private offer within Partner Center. And up to that point, most of our conversation has been centered on this thing that I started with, which is the $1.4 trillion opportunity in the SMB space. Earlier today, you heard an announcement in the keynote about multi-party private offers. Multi-party private offers are going to expand the opportunity for ISVs and CSPs to work together. It'll allow CSPs to participate in the monetization of ISV sales into all segments of Microsoft customers. But you should not wait for multi-party private offers. Everything that we talked about, margins, defining your margin, marketing material, Partner Center, how to build those great CSP relationships, it all applies to what's coming in the future. So if you haven't created a transactable offer, now's the time. Get engaged in the ISV Success Program. Check out the ISV Transact and Grow Incentive, where we will pay you to publish a transactable offer, and then we'll reward you when that offer reaches a revenue threshold. Think about this channel strategy. Think about those core foundations of a great relationship and start to build your channel strategy. Once you have a transactable offer and you have a channel strategy, go publish some private offers in Partner Center and start to engage with CSPs. So with that, I'd like to thank you for joining our session today. I hope you got a lot out of it and enjoy the rest of the Marketplace Summit. Thank you.